let's jump into some of our factorization. Let's see how we go. Okay, so this is lesson 4 of 6. We're going to go through a little bit of a like a recap first, talk about the different things that we know how to do, and then we're going to do a bunch of questions just to make sure everything's happy in our brains. Okay. So what does HCF stand for when we're talking about factorization? What does this stand for over here? Yes, Madao. What does that stand for?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
So the HCF stands for highest common.
Beautiful. Highest common factor. Perfect. Okay. Highest common factor is always the first thing we look for when we're doing any kind of factorization. It helps us take the first step out. So as an example of taking out a highest common factor, if I had, let's say I had 4x plus 2, and I wanted to take out a highest common factor, I could see that 2 can go into both of those terms. So I can take it out as a highest common factor, and I would be left with 2x plus 1. Okay, this is pure maths in the side. So that 2 over there, that would be your highest common factor outside of the brackets. Okay. Then our next 3 letters that we've got over here is dots. What does dots stand for? What is dots? And when do we use dots? Who can help me? Yes, Madal, you're on a huge roll today. Tell me, what does dots stand for, and when do I use it? Oh, Mateo, it's also a great answer in there.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Okay, so what stands for different, I forgot it.
Oh, but that was such a good start. Good,
Difference
difference. Perfect. Okay, so difference of 2 squares. Excellent. Okay, so what that's meaning is it's exactly what it is. Difference means it's a minus sign. 2 means there needs to be 2 terms, and squares means that there need to be square numbers. Okay, so whenever we do difference of 2 squares, we land up with 2 brackets, one with a plus and one with a minus. So let's say, for example, I had x squared minus 4, and I wanted to try and factorize that. I would say, well, the square root of x squared is x, so that's going to go at the front of my 2 brackets, and then the square root of 4 is 2, so that's going to go to the back of my 2 brackets. So x squared minus 4, if I had to factorize it, I would get x plus 2x minus 2. Before we have a look at the next one, does anyone have any questions about these first 2 things that we have spoken about? If you do, please feel free to pop them in the chat or put your hand up if you have an issue with either of those things. Okay, cool. All right, when we have a trinomial is when we have 3 terms, and one of them is going to have a squared, and then one will have just a single, and then we'll have a constant. So an example of that is if I had x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay. Now, in grade 9, we're very lucky because the coefficient of this term is always a 1. So it's always like 1x squared or just x squared. And in grade 10, it's not always 1. We're going to start having numbers there. And so we're going to have to start doing this a slightly different way. So last year, the way we would factorize this is we would look at our factors of our constant, and we would look at those factor pairs. So we'd say we'd have 1 and 6, and we've got 2 and 3. And then we'd think, how could we get to 5? We could say plus 2 plus 3. So then we would have x plus 2, x plus 3. Okay. But now in grade 10, when that starts becoming a slightly different issue, we're going to start looking at something called the cross method. So we're going to start looking at something like this. Has anyone used the cross method in class yet? Let me know if anyone has used this cross method in their classrooms. Or if you've even seen it before, maybe you've seen it in a textbook or... Ah, Stacy, we got 1. So the way that we work with this cross method, you should be excited if you haven't done it in class yet, because that means that when you do it in class, we will have already done it together. So you're going to be a pro at it. Is basically, we work out whatever this coefficient is here. So that's a 1, okay? Whatever's going to happen on the left-hand side, if we multiply them together, we need to get 1x squared. And the 6 over here is going to be filtering onto this side over here. Now, at the moment, if you're feeling a bit confused by this, please don't panic. I'm going to go through this really nice and slowly just now. I just want to show you as an example what this would look like now. But don't panic. We're going to do lots of these together. So if I look at this 1x squared, I can break that up as x times x, because x times x gives me x squared. And if I have a look at that 6, I could split that into 3 and 2, because 3 times 2 gives me 6. And then we do this cool thing called the crisscross method. So we say x times 2 gives me 2x, and x times 3 gives me 3x. And if I plus those together, I get 5x. And so the crisscross tells you how we're going to work it out. This part up here is my first bracket, so x plus 3, and this part down here is my second bracket, x plus 2. And so when we have no coefficient in front of the x squared, when it's just a 1, it's easy for us to use our factor pairs, but when that is not just a 1 anymore, then we need to look into some different methods, and that's when we're going to play around with this cross method. But again, don't panic. We're going to look at it in more detail just now. Okay. All right. So that is so far our highest common factor, difference of 2 squares, trinomial. Grouping is when we have 4 or more terms, and so we have to group 2 of them together. Okay. And then we have to try and find a common bracket once we have grouped them together. And then we have our cubes. So for an example of a cube is if I have x cubed plus 8, and I needed to factorize that, I would have x plus 2, x squared minus 2x plus 4. Okay. So this is just a quick summary of the different factorization methods that you have so far. Does anyone have any questions about any of these methods? So highest common factor, dots, trinomials. Don't panic about the cross just yet, because we're going to come back to it. Grouping or cubes. Does anyone want a little bit more clarification on anything? And if not, we're going to jump into some questions. And remember, if you're feeling stressed about something and you don't know what's going on, just pop your hand up. We can chat. But all of this should just feel like revision from last year at the moment. Okay, cool. I'm not seeing any questions. So I'm going to zoom onto this side over here. So I'm going to give you some time to work through these. These are the first 2 to start on, and then I'll scroll down for you. I would like for you to factorize these 2 questions for me. And when you are happy, you can either put your answer in the chat for me, or you can pop your hand up and you can talk me through your answer. I think that was, where did Namaza go? Namaza, are you wanting to answer? Or is this the question?
No.
Hello?
Time. I am.
I told you I was going to come and visit you guys. Namaza, there's a little bit of a lag happening on your side, but I'll try and unmute you again just now, okay? Mhlengi, I think there are videos on grouping from last year specifically. There's definitely videos on grouping, so if you have a look on the Watobe website, I think you'll be able to find those. And when you are happy with your answers, just pop them in the chat for me so I can tell how you guys are doing. Just going to write our little steps here. We first want to look for a highest common factor. Then we want to see if we have difference of two squares. We want to see if we have a trinomial. We want to see, do we have grouping? And we want to look and see if we have sum or difference of cubes. So those are our 5 tools that we can work with for factorization.
Go ahead and try them out, guys.
Give these first 2 a try. And don't be scared. If your answer is wrong, your answer is wrong. It's not the end of the world. Right, so we just were going over some of the basics of factorization, and then we were looking at these questions. So that is all that you have missed so far. So cube is not a new one. It is one that we did in grade 9, but it is a sneaky one. It hardly ever comes up. Generally, you'll get maybe one of them in a test or in an exam. So it's not something that we practice regularly, if that makes sense. It's not something we see often. Guys, where are all of my beautiful answers?
What is happening, guys?
Pop them in that chat for me.
Oh, Cherise is asking for an example, Teacher Jane.
Cherise, I promise I will go through these. I will go through them really nice and slowly.
If you have a
Oh,
question, just put your hand up.
Yeah, Unati, what are you finding confusing? Let me know, and then I can help. Oh, I see. Okay, so some of the answers that are coming through in the direct chat, I see where we're going wrong. All right, let's have a look at this. It's okay. Don't panic, guys. That's what we're here for. So if you have a look at this question, okay, we've got 2 terms. We've got 16x to the power of 4, and then we've got 8x to the power of 3. But remember, if there is a highest common factor, we have to take it out. We don't have an option. We have to take out that highest common factor. So let's have a look here. What can go into both 16 and 8? What number can go into both of those? Exactly, 8. Okay, so 8 can go into both of those. Now let's look at the x's. We've got x to the power of 4, and we've got x to the power of 3. What can go into both of those? So what can go into both x cubed and x to the power of 4? Good, x cubed. Okay, so our highest common factor here is going to be 8x to the power of 3. So when we're working with our exponents, when it comes to highest common factors, if they're the same letter, so here they're both x's, we always take the one which has the lower exponent. Okay, so that's x to the 3, and the other one was x to the 4. Then we just need to work out what's going to go inside these brackets. So when I multiply these 2 terms together, I need to get 16x to the power of 4. So that's going to need to be 2x, because 8 times 2 will give me 16, and x cubed times x will give me x to the power of 4. Okay, now I have to think what's going to go here. I can see it's going to be a negative. And what am I going to multiply 8x cubed by to get 8x cubed? 1. So 8x cubed times -1 will give me -8x cubed. And so that would be my final answer. So all I'd want to do in this one is take out our highest common factor. Hopefully that made this one make a little bit more sense. When you're having a look at question 2, it's really important that you take your highest common factor out first before you try and do anything after that. But hint, hint, nudge, nudge, there is definitely something you can do after that. Yes, Namaza, how can I help?
Sorry, ma'am. Instead of saying 8x cubed, I said 8x squared and then open brackets. Okay. Look, okay, I see my mistake. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay. I mean, you did take out a factor, you just didn't take out the highest factor. So there was something more we could take out. Let's see. Yes, Madal, how can I help?
So, ma'am, 1 digit times 8 by 16.
Oh, to when you multiply this through. So when we're trying to check our answer and make sure it's right, all we're doing is we're multiplying. So let's just get rid of that. This first term by this first term. So we're saying 8 times 2, that gives me 16. X cubed times x, that gives me x to the power of 4. And then when we look here, we're saying 8 times -1, that gives me -8. X cubed times 1 is just my x cubed. So that's how I'm getting that 16, is when I multiply the 8 and the 2. Hopefully that helps. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing some nice answers coming through here in the chats. The great start. So we're definitely going to start by taking out a 2. So we're going to take out that 2 and we're going to be left with 9x squared minus 4. That's great. So if you got to that point, definitely give yourselves a mark. But there's something that we can do further than this. So go through your list over here and see what else we could do after that.
Teacher Jane, TK is asking
That's
how
step
you managed
once
to
we've
get the
taken that out.
powers. Oh. Sorry, did you hear me, Teacher Jane?
Yes. The powers in question 1.
I'm not sure if they're talking about question 1 or 2.
Okay. Let's have a look here. No problem, Tando. Let's talk about this one. So if we have a look at this question over here, we've got 18x squared, and then we've got an 8. Okay, so if we have a look at these two terms, if I'm trying to find something common in them, I'm trying to find a number that can go into 18 and a number that can go into 8. And the only number that can go into both of those is 2. Okay. When I take 2 out, I need to think when I multiply these terms, I need to get 18x squared. So I'm going to say 2 times 9, that will give me 18. And then I need my x squared. So 2 times 9, that will give me 18x squared. And then this is going to have to be minus 4 because 2 times -4, that's going to give me my -8. So when we take out that highest common factor, that's all we're doing on the outside. And then we're going to do something further there. For those of you who are still struggling with question 1, we can definitely look at this again over here. So our first step is we're looking at our numbers. So we've got 16 and we have got 8. And we're trying to find what number can go into both of those. So 8 can go into both of those numbers. Then we look at our variables. We've got x cubed and we've got x to the power of 4. So I can take x cubed out of both of them. Okay, and then inside my brackets, I'm going to say, what am I going to multiply 8 by to get to 16? I have to multiply it by 2. And what do I need to multiply x cubed by to get x4? I need to multiply it by x. And then over here, I'm going to say -1 because 8x cubed times -1 will give me my -8x cubed. That's okay. Keep on going on question 2. We haven't quite finished with question 2 yet. All we've done in this first step so far is look at how to take out the highest common factor. And then we're going to, no problem, then we're going to look at where we would go to after that. Okay, so now when we get to this point over here, we can see that we can do difference of 2 squares. This is a dots situation. So I'm going to keep my 2. Whenever we have dots, we have 2 brackets. We always have a plus and then we have a minus. Okay, we're going to square root our first term. So the square root of 9x squared is going to give us 3x. I'm going to pop that at the beginning of both of our brackets. And we're going to square root our second term. Square root of 4 is 2. We're going to pop that at the back of both of our brackets. And so that is going to be our final answer. Did anyone manage to get to that point by themselves? Let me know. Let me know how that question went. Give me a number on a scale of up to 10, how you felt about that question. And remember, if it was like -2, that's also fine. I just need to know where you're at. All right, 6, that's not bad. 6 is a solid number. Yay, Shikondi. That's okay. So I won't be able to explain these questions again just because we'll run out of time. But remember that all of our lessons are recorded. And so you'll be able to watch this after the lesson, and you can go through it as slowly as you like and pause and unpause. I'm so glad you understand. Once you are feeling a little bit more confident, then give question 3 and question 4 a try for me. We're going to do 5 questions like this. We're going to do 5 factorization questions, and then we're going to move on to how to learn how to do the trinomials with the crisscross today. Your answer was 2x cubed, 9 minus 4. Okay, so the problem with that answer is that we can't take out x cubed or x squared because there aren't any x's in our second term. And so because there aren't any x's there, we can't take it out as the highest common factor. We can only do that if there were x's in both of them. You guys are doing really great. Just keep working, keep asking questions. The more questions you ask, the more confident you will feel. And we are happy to answer them. This is a judge-free zone.
And the nice thing about making mistakes here is that you get to fix them. We always give second chances.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Confused at 3. That's okay. So 3 is a trinomial. So you can try it the way that we learned last year. If you're feeling very brave, you can give the crisscross method a try, but we're going to talk about the crisscross method in more detail just now. So question 3, you're looking at a trinomial. And then question 4, you first need to look at some highest common factor, and then you can look at something else. Ooh, okay. I'm liking that answer. Rita, I'm happy. So the question that came in through direct messages on how to study for maths. The best way to study for maths is to do questions. So it's like by doing past papers. But the thing that people do wrong with that is they do past papers, but with the memo right next to them. And then they'll be like, oh, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this. Oh, that's how you do it when you look at the memo. And so then you're not really learning because you're just looking at the answer. And so if you get to a question that you don't know how to do it in a past paper, go through your maths book or your notes, wherever you write things down, see if you can try and find a similar example and give it a go, and then look at the memo and see where you went right or where you went wrong. Okay, let's have a look at number 3. So number 3, I'm going to do it the old way, the way that we did in grade 9, just to not confuse anyone, and then we're going to work with our cross after this one. Okay. These are our last 2 questions. We're not going to do 5. We're just going to do these 4. So when we have a trinomial, we want to work with the factors of our constant, and we are trying to get this middle number. Okay, so we want to work with our factor pairs. We've got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. We're trying to get to the number -11. So if we're looking at these numbers, 3 and 4, that's not going to give me 11. 2 and 6, that's not going to give me 11. But 12 and 1, I can get to 11. If I make that -12 and I +1 minus 12, that's going to give me negative 11, which is what I'm wanting. Okay, so inside my brackets, I'm going to have my x and my x, and then we're going to write in these numbers that we've just worked out. So we're going to have plus 1 minus 12. And that would be my full answer for number 3. I wouldn't have to do anything else. And remember, the nice thing with factorization is you can always check it to see if you've done it right. So we're going to have x times x, that gives me x squared. X times negative 12, that gives me negative 12x. 1 times x gives me positive x, which gives me negative 11x. So I've got my x squared, I've got my negative, oh, there should be a negative 11, there should be an x there. Sorry, guys. And then we've got 1 times negative 12, which is my negative 12. Okay. So don't panic about that one just yet, because we're going to spend quite a lot of time on trinomials today. If you wrote x minus 12, x plus 1, that's also perfect. Not a problem at all. But give question 4 a try for me. If you're stressing about question 3, don't worry just too much, because we're going to do more work on that now. For the moment, have a look at question 4. Start by taking out your highest common factor, and then see if there's something additional you can do. No. So for the 1, it's not supposed to be an 11, because if we have a 1, if we have an 11 and a 12, if we multiply those together, we're going to get a number much bigger than 12. No problem. Okay, Matli, that's a great start. Beautiful start for question 4. We're going to take out our highest common factor of 9, and we are left with x cubed plus 1. That is a great start. Excellent start. Now, there's something more I can do, because I can do something to that bracket over there. So that first line is 1 mark, which is great, but now we can do something further. Let's see if we have any brave souls. Okay, so what we have over here is we've got a sum of cubes. So we're going to keep our 9, and we're going to have 2 brackets. In our first one, we are going to cube root both of those. So the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 1 is 1. Then we square this term. So it's going to be x squared. We always have a different sign to our first bracket, and we multiply those together. So that's going to be our 1x, and then we square our last term. So that's going to be 1. So we're going to land up with 9, open bracket, x plus 1, open, close bracket, open bracket, x squared minus x plus 1. Yes, absolutely. So Petty, this is 100% right. You're definitely going to have 9 and then open bracket x cubed plus 1. But when we get to this point over here, we can do something further, because this is called the sum of cubes. And so because it's a sum of cubes, we can do it further. So if you took out a 3, the problem with that is it's not your highest common factor, because there's a number that's higher than 3 that can go in. So then we would have more numbers left in our brackets that we can take out. But don't worry, guys, practice is just about, factorization is all about practice and making sure you work through them as much as possible. And they get easier the more you do. That's okay. Tell me where you're getting confused. Okay, so the second part is when we have a difference or sum of cubes. Yeah, so difference or sum of cubes, I do think there will also be a video on this that I'm sure you'll be able to find on the Watobe website. It is quite a confusing concept, so I do recommend you give that video a watch. But basically what we're doing, the short version of that is once we've cube grouped to those first two terms to get these two terms here in our brackets, we square that first term. So we're saying x times x, that gives us the x squared, okay? Then to get this 1, we're saying 1 times 1, that gives us the 1. This sign is always going to be different to the first bracket, and then it is equal to the product of them. So x times 1 is equal to 1x. And that's how we get those 3 terms that are happening in the second bracket. So difference in sum of cubes is always a little bit nasty. They do take a bit of practice. And so if you're feeling a little bit lost about question 4, it might be worth your time to go and have a look through one of the difference or sum of cube videos. But this is just a quick recap of them. Okay. You are most welcome. Okay, so that's our first recap of what we've been doing. Now we need to move into grade 10 types of trinomials. Okay, so trinomials that are grade 10 trinomials is where we have a coefficient of our x squared. So what that means is that we have a number over there. So you see we've got that 3 over there. We have a coefficient. We have a number that's in front of the x squared. So when we have a number that's in front of the x squared, we can't just do our normal way that we did in grade 9 because we've got this number that plays a role. Okay, I'm going to do this question really slowly and carefully with you, and I want you to ask as many questions as possible while we go through this example, and then I'm going to give you one to try by yourselves. Okay, but you ask as many questions as you need. So we're going to break this up into 2 sections. We've got this 3x squared over here, and that's going to be the first part of our crisscross. Okay, and then we've got this -4 over here. That's going to be this part of our crisscross. Okay, who remembers some clues or some tricks from last year? When we have a negative sign over there before the constant, what does that mean for trinomials for us? What does that mean is going to happen inside our brackets? If that sign before the constant is negative, what does that mean for us in the brackets? Who remembers? So there's 2 different things. If it's negative, okay, so Kay, you're on a good track. If that's a negative over there, it means that in my brackets, they're going to be 2 different signs. And if it's a positive, it means my signs are going to be the same as each other. So if this is a negative, then the signs in my brackets are going to be plus and minus. I'm going to have 2 different signs. That's just going to help us a little bit with our numbers. Okay. Now we're going to start working through this. So I need to try and get 3x squared. Don't even panic about the 4 just yet. How can I get 3x squared? I know what could I have? What's this times this? What could I have? Who has some suggestions? What times what can give me 3x squared? And don't panic. I don't mind what the answers are here. It can be completely wild. I'm trying to get 3x squared. Okay, great. Okay, so if I have 3x, what do I need to times by 3x in order to get 3x squared? So if I times 3x by 1, then I'm going to just get 3x. Ah, Rita, yes. If I say 3x times 1x, though, I'm going to get 3x squared. And that's what I'm looking for, right? So let's break that up. Let's make this 3x. and let's make that 1x. So if we multiply those together, we definitely get 3x squared, which is something that we're wanting. And you could also have written it as 1x times 3x. It doesn't matter. Okay, now we need to look at this 4. So who can give me different suggestions on how I can work out 4? What times what gives me 4? 4 times 1. Beautiful. Who can give me another suggestion? 2 times 2. Excellent. Okay. Those are our only 2 that we can work with. So now we need to try a little bit of experimentations. We need to do a little bit of trial and error. We need to pop these into our crisscross to see which one is going to work for us. Okay, remember that our goal here is to get to that negative 11x. So let's just try and work with the first one. So we've got 4 and 1. Let's put our 4 there and our 1 over there. Okay, if we multiply those together, we get 4. So that's great. So that passes one test. Now we have to do our crisscross. So let's start our crisscross. 3x times 1 is going to give us 3x, and 1x times 4 is going to give us 4x. Can I get to 11x with 4x and 3x? Is it possible for me to get to 11x with these numbers? No. Okay, so then I know that that doesn't work. So now I have to try something else. Let me just get my box back. Oh, one color. Oh no, everything's falling apart. There we go. Okay. All right. So what if we try and flip these around? What if we made this a 1 and we made that a 4? 1 times 4 is still going to give me 4, so I'm happy. Now let's do our crisscross. 3x times 4, that's going to give me 12x. 1x times 1, that's going to give me 1x. Can I get to 11 with those 2 numbers? Yeah. Okay. Now I'm trying to get to 11, negative 11x. So which one of those is going to have to be negative? Which one will have to be negative if I want to get a negative answer? I want to get negative 11x. So is my 1x going to have to be negative, or is my 12 going to have to be negative? Good. My 12 has to be negative. Okay. So that one has to be negative and that one has to be positive. Okay. And then this tells you exactly what's going to be in what bracket. So that's my first bracket. So I'm going to have 3x plus 1 in my first bracket. And then in my second bracket, I'm going to have 1x or x minus 4. And that's going to be my final answer. And then if I'm wanting to check that I'm right, I can multiply everything out to make sure that it has worked out perfectly to what we are needing it to be. I am open to any questions you may have about this method before you start doing one by yourselves. Ask away. Any questions you may have. And don't be embarrassed to ask. You can ask anything you're needing to. Yes, Nomaza, how can I help?
Sorry, ma'am, does this also work with binomials?
Binomials is when we would only have 2 terms, and then we would mostly be looking at highest common factor or difference of 2 squares.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
So no problem. So this will be our trinomial vibe. Okay. Do we try one? Should we try one ourselves and see how it goes? Remember, I'm here to help if you need help. I'm gonna suggest something before you get going with this one though. Let me just quickly do this. Before you get started on this one, I just wanted to talk about something. So we've got 10x squared plus 14x plus 4. What is the first thing I need to do in this question? What is the very first thing I need to do in this question before I can do trinomials? I have to look for this every time I do factorization. This is the first thing I have to look for. Yes, highest common factor. Okay. And in this question, what is my highest common factor? What number can go into all three of those terms? What can go into 10 and 14 and 4? Good. Okay. So I'm going to have 2. I'm going to be left with 5x squared plus 7x plus 2. Now that I've done that, I want you to try and work with your crisscross. So I'm going to try and make some helping steps for you over here. So this orange, you need to get 5x squared. And then I'm going to keep it in the same color as we did the last one. This pink over here, when we multiply them, I need to get my 2. And when I do my crisscross, I'm trying to get the answer of positive 7x. Okay. So let's see who can figure this one out. Play around, move them into different places, and let's see who can get the answer for this question.
Go for it, guys. We're in this together.
Yes.
Oh, Kotatsu says I'm lost.
It's okay. Maybe when we talk about this one afterwards, it'll start clicking. Sometimes these things just take time. Just be kind to yourselves.
Remember, practice makes perfect.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more time to try this out. And then I promise I will talk you through it. I won't leave you stranded. But just do the best you can. Yeah. Your final answer here, you'll have a 2, and then you'll have 2 things in a bracket, and then you'll have 2 things in a bracket. That's what your final answer will look like. So the format of it is we'll have this 2, and then we'll have a bracket like that, and we'll have another bracket like that. But give it your best go, and then we'll chat together.
Oh, that's the spirit, Larissa.
Peleza, I'm very happy you're keeping up the vibes from our grade 9 class. Well done.
Love it.
Always a positive energy. Oh, from last year. I was the grade 9 teacher with them last year. Yeah.
Oh. Emilio.
Just remember, guys, as soon as winter comes, we're going to be wishing it was hot like this.
Yes, we'll miss
So
the heat.
We need to just enjoy it while we can.
Yes, just get yourself some ice cold water. You should be fine.
Yes. Okay, I'm seeing some answers coming in. Let's give this one a go. So those of you who are feeling confused, just listen nice and carefully and let's see how it goes. Don't worry if you got it wrong. As long as you tried, I'm happy. So I need to try and break out 5x squared into my 2 terms. So I'm going to say 5x and 1x. You could have written it as 1x and 5x. Doesn't matter. Okay, so when I multiply those together, I get 5x squared. Happy. Now I need to break up my 2. The only way I can break up 2 is 2 times 1. It's the only way I can break it up. So let's try put our 2 here and our 1 here. When we do our cross multiplication, we're going to have 1x times 2. That's going to give us 2x. Here we're going to have 5x times 1. That's going to give us 5x. Can I get to 7x with 5 and 2? Is it possible for me to get to 7? Yeah, exactly. This is a plus sign, which means my signs need to be the same. So they're both going to be positives over here. And so these are going to be positive, sorry. And so that tells us what's going to be in our brackets. We're going to have 5x plus 2, and we're going to have 1x plus 1. So 5x plus 2 and 1x plus 1. And that is going to be our final answer for this question. How did this one go? Do you feel like it's sinking in to your brain? Are you feeling like it's making some sort of headway, even if you're not 100% there yet? Is it sort of sinking? Okay. I'm going to keep this one up on the board so you can look at it while we work through the next one. It's okay. Yeah, just give it time. Give it time to get in. Get time to get in your head. We're going to look at this one is going to be our last question for the evening. So I want you to have a look at question 3 for me. In question 3, you need to do a very similar thing to what we did in our last one. You need to first take out a highest common factor. Okay, so first take out your highest common factor in this question. Good, it's going to be 3. Excellent. So we're going to take out our 3. We're going to be left with 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. And now I want you to think, what's going to go in these two? That has to give me my 2x squared. And what's going to go into these two? That's going to give me my 1. Just do your best. That's all we're asking. Just try your hardest and we'll see how we go. You're going to be so excited when you get this. I promise. Trinomials are one of those things where when you're first learning it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so confusing. And then when you start doing them yourselves and you actually start figuring things out, you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I know what to do. I feel so smart.
Teacher Jen, we have a hand from Tando.
Oh, Tando, how can I help?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm not sure about the answer.
Okay.
So I said
give it a
3.
go. Okay.
Yes, I said 3 on the bracket
Mm-hmm.
and then open bracket. And then I said 2x 2 squared,
Okay, 2x squared.
close bracket. Then I said plus 3 in a bracket.
Okay, so I'm liking the sounds of your numbers at the moment. We just need to be careful where we're putting our brackets. So let's try and use these same numbers that you're talking about. Let's put it in this crisscross on the left. So you had a 2x here then, and then you would have had a 1x over there, right?
2x, then 2 squared.
Okay, so when we're multiplying these two together, we have to get 2x squared. So we can't have a 2 squared because then we're going to have a 4, and then that 4 is going to make our number too big.
Oh, I understand.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
No problem. So if we have 2x times 1x, that's going to give us our 2x squared, and that's going to make us happy. Then we're going to like sorted. Awesome. Then on the right with our pinks, we have to think we've got to try and get 1. The only way we can get 1 is by saying 1 times 1. It has to be a 1. Okay. Then we get to do our cross multiplication. So 2x times 1, that gives us 2x. 1x times 1, that gives us 1x. This is a plus sign, which means our signs need to be the same. They need to be the same as that sign over there. So these are both going to be negative. And so we're going to land up with 3, open brackets, 2x, oh goodness, minus 1. And then in our next bracket, x minus 1 or 1x minus 1. So these ones are going to be negatives and not positives because we need this to be negative 3x, not positive 3x. Hopefully we are feeling a little bit more confident about these than we did going into the lesson. That is my hope. No, oh no. What are you feeling stressed by? Okay, so Mullen, just be careful. Your X's are always going to be in this yellow box over here. So they're always going to be at the front of your brackets. And then the pink box on the right, that's always just going to have numbers. We're not going to have any X's chilling in our pink boxes. So our X's will only be in our orange boxes. But if you have questions, guys, ask away. We've got a couple of minutes. We can talk through this. And then I'm sure Teacher Coco will carry on with some of these ideas with you next week, Tuesday.